Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Museum Munchkins. I'm Mr. Nick, and today we are talking all about Crabeater seals. And we're going to start off today by singing a song about seals if you want to stand up on your feet. So this song sounds a little bit like the song The Wheels on the Bus, but this song is called The Seals in the Ocean. So we're going to be singing along and doing some different actions and motions along with our song, and we'll learn them every new verse as we go through them. So this song is called The Seals in the Ocean. And the very first thing the seals like to do in the ocean is we're going to swim back and forth. So we can step to one side and we're going to swim this way, and then we can turn around and we're going to swim back the other way. So we can swim back and forth. Are you ready? The seals in the ocean swim back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The seals in the ocean swim back and forth around Antarctica. Very good. Should we try that again? Do you want to try doing that one again? The seals in the ocean swim back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The seals in the ocean swim back and forth around Antarctica. Very good. Now the next thing we're going to do is seals, when they're swimming around in the water, sometimes they like to pop their heads up above water. So we're going to pop up and down. Are you ready? The seals in the ocean pop up and down, up and down, up and down. The seals in the ocean pop up and down around Antarctica. Very good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for some food. So we're going to put our hands up like this, like we're searching around for food, and crab-eater seals like to eat something called krill. So the seals in the ocean hunt for krill, hunt for krill, hunt for krill. The seals in the ocean hunt for krill around Antarctica. Oh, and when they find it, when they find their food, what do you think they do? They take their teeth and their jaws and they go chomp, chomp, chomp. Can we try doing that together? Chomp, chomp, chomp. Very good. Their teeth and their mouth go chomp, 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 chomp. Their teeth in their mouth go chomp, chomp, chomp around Antarctica. Oh my goodness, and all this swimming around and eating and hunting for krill has made the seals kind of tired, so now they're going to lay on some sea ice. So we can put our hands together like this, like we're going to take a rest as the seals in the ocean lay on sea ice, on sea ice, on sea ice. The seals in the ocean lay on sea ice around Antarctica. Very good. I had so much fun singing that song with you guys right now. I'm going to set my guitar down so we can talk all about the crab-eater seal. All right. Now, I don't have a crab-eater seal here with me because crab-eater seals are pretty big. They can grow to be about 7.5 feet long, but I do have one of their heads here that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Now, crab-eater seals, they don't live around here in Kenosha or even around here in North America. Crab-eater seals, just like we heard in our song, are only found all the way down here at the bottom of our planet around Antarctica. So Antarctica is a big chunk of land at the very bottom of our planet that's covered in snow and ice. So there are lots of animals that live in Antarctica or live around Antarctica like the crab-eater seals that we're going to learn about a little bit about today and talk about it. But you know what? Crab-eater seals, one of the things that makes them really interesting is they are the most abundant species of seal in the entire world. That means that there's more crab-eater seals on our planet than any other type of seal. Pretty interesting. So even if you haven't heard of them before, they're all over the place if you go down to where they live, down near Antarctica. And like I said, they grow to be about 7.5 feet long and weigh about 450 pounds. So they're pretty big seals too. And they weigh so much because their body, where they live, it's really, really cold. And when it's really cold outside, what do? Is there anything special that you put on your body before you go outside when it's really cold? Maybe you put on a hat and some gloves or some mittens or a scarf and a coat. Well, crab-eater seals can't do that, so their bodies are covered in fat called blubber that helps to keep their bodies warm in those chilly, cold waters down around Antarctica. And they are really, really good at swimming. They spend some of their time on land when they're resting or when they're sleeping. Or sometimes they just get tired and need a break from all that swimming. But when they're swimming, they're looking for food, and they can usually swim about 40 to 50 miles every day in search of food that they like to eat. And speaking of, do you have a guess at what sort of food a crab-eater seal might like to eat? A crab-eater seal? Do you remember what we said in our song that they like to eat? Yeah, so crab-eater seals don't like to eat crabs because the crabs that we find on our planet near where they live really, really far down deep in the ocean. So even though we call them crab-eater seals, they're actually krill-eater seals. They love to eat krill, and krill are little tiny animals that are kind of like shrimp that we find all over our planet. Lots of animals like to eat krill. Lots of birds, like seagulls and things, like to eat krill. Whales love to eat krill too. And crab-eater seals like to eat krill. In fact, krill, if we were to take every single animal on our planet and we were to put them all on a big scale and see how many of each animal there were and how much they weighed, krill would weigh more than any other type of animal that lives on our planet because there's just so many of them in our oceans. And that's what crab-eater seals like to eat. And they actually have really special teeth, which is why I have this skull here, so we can look at its teeth a little more closely so we can see how they eat those krill. And so I'm going to get just a little bit closer. And if we take a look at their teeth, you might notice something special about them. So a crab-eater seal has kind of sharp-looking teeth too, but is there anything else that you notice? So their teeth have lots of little grooves and little holes in them, don't they? So, and this is not because the crab-eater seal has not been brushing its teeth or doesn't go to the dentist very often, and those are cavities. Their teeth are supposed to look like that. So they're supposed to have these big holes in their teeth for a very special reason. And let's take a look at why a crab-eater seal has its holes and has holes in their teeth like that. Have you ever seen something like this before? Maybe around your house, in the kitchen, used for cooking, or maybe you even have something like this in your sandbox that you like to play with sometimes. So this is called a sifter or a strainer sometimes. So, and you might have seen those things, something like this, in the kitchen when someone is cooking. Because we use them in the kitchen, like if we're making pasta or something like that, and the pasta's all done cooking, and we need to get the pasta out of the water then, well, instead of picking each little noodle out of the pasta water, we just pour all the water out and all the pasta into a strainer, and then all the pasta stays in the strainer, and all of the water goes out the bottom. So look at, if I take some of these, I've got all these like little bugs in here too that I'm going to put in this water. Now, if I had just a cup and I was going to scoop up some of these bugs out of the water, and I just used a cup, then I would scoop up all the water too. But with my strainer, if I scoop up some of these bugs, all the water drips out of the bottom then, so I only have the little bug left on top of there. And that's the same reason why crab-eater seals have holes in their teeth. So they will eat the krill that they like to catch down by Antarctica, and then instead of just having a big mouthful of water and krill, they will squish all of the water out of their mouth through those holes in their teeth without opening their mouth at all. So all the water goes out, but the krill stays in their mouth. So they have really special, cool strainer teeth. So you guys can try that experiment at home too. Maybe you can find, and maybe if you have a little strainer like this at home, or the next time you're making pasta for lunch or for dinner, you can watch all the pasta get drained out of the water using a special, like a colander or a strainer. All right, so that's why they have those special teeth. Now their teeth look pretty sharp. I'm going to bring them over again too so we can see. Their teeth look pretty pointy and sharp, and that's because crab-eater seals are carnivores. Can you guys say that word with me? Carnivore. And a carnivore is an animal that only eats meat. So crab-eater seals only eat krill. Sometimes they'll eat maybe some other small fish or things too that happen to get in their mouth, but they really like to eat krill. And carnivores have sharp, pointy teeth, and they only eat meat. Can you think of any animals that only eat meat and that have sharp, pointy teeth? Maybe like a lion, or a tiger, or a shark, or a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Those are all great examples of a carnivore. But there are other animals on our planet too, like herbivores. Have you ever heard that word before? Can we say that word together too? Herbivore. An herbivore is an animal that only eats plants. And they have much, much flatter teeth. Can you think of any animals that only eat plants? Sure, things like cows and sheep and goats and rabbits. They have really flat teeth, good for grinding up the plants that they like to eat. So carnivores have sharp, pointed teeth, and herbivores usually have flatter teeth, good for grinding. But then there are other animals too that eat meat and plants. Those animals are called omnivores. Can we try saying that word together too? Omnivore. Yeah, so omnivores are animals that eat meat and plants. Can you think of any of those? Well, humans are a good example of animals that eat meat and plants. So are bears and pigs. There are lots of animals that eat meat and plants too. And since we're omnivores, we can look at our teeth. We have some teeth that are sharp, and that are good for slicing, and we have other teeth that are kind of flat, that are good for grinding in the back of our mouth. So we have teeth for eating meat and plants. Carnivores have teeth that are pointy and good for eating meat, and herbivores have teeth that are flatter, that are good for grinding up plants. And we're going to need to remember that for our special activity that we have later, that we're going to do later today. Now, you might think that crab-eater seals, because of where they live near Antarctica, that there's probably not a lot for them to see there. But just because people don't really live in Antarctica, there's still tons and tons of animals that live around there. And because they like to get a look around to see other animals that are in the area, or they want to see maybe if they can see where their food might be, crab-eater seals, like a lot of other animals, do something that I think is a little funny called spy hopping, which is where when they're swimming around, usually they're swimming flat like this, swimming through the water with their bodies flat like this. But if they want to get a look around, then they'll swim around and then they'll pop straight up like this and kind of spin around looking for what what's around them, looking for the animals and things that are around them. So crab-eater seals, like a lot of other animals, like to swim around, and then, just like we did in our song, they sort of like pop up and float in a circle like this so they can get an idea of what's around them. And what sort of things do they see around Antarctica? Well, we're going to learn a little bit about some things that they see around Antarctica while they're spy hopping in our story today. And while we read our story, if you have any questions about crab-eater seals, you can write them in our comments on this video, and we'll answer a few in just a little bit. All right, so our book today is actually on my iPad. So our story today is called Here is Antarctica by Madeline Dunphy and illustrated by Tom Leonard. Here is Antarctica. Ooh, what do you see? Look at all those different things we can see. All the different animals and ice and snow. Here are the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the crab-eater seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the orcas who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Oh, do you see the orca kind of popping up and hitting the ice like that? Here are the macaroni penguins who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the krill that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here is the ocean that is home to the krill, who are the food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here is the petrel who floats on the ocean, that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the Adelie penguins who swim around the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here is the leopard seal who preys on the penguins, who swim around the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked, that rise from this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. That's a leopard seal. They're different than the crab-eater seals that we find. Here are the silverfish that are eaten by the seal, who preys on the penguins, who swim round the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs, all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here is the skua who dives for the silverfish that are eaten by the seal, who preys on the penguins, who swim round the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the emperor penguins who watch the skua, who dives for the silverfish that are eaten by the seal, who preys on the penguins, who swim round the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. Here is Antarctica. Here are the icebergs that are home to the penguins, who watch the skua, who dives for the silverfish that are eaten by the seal, who preys on the penguins, who swim round the petrel, who floats on the ocean that is home to the krill, that are food for the penguins, who flee from the orcas, who hunt the seals, who lie on the icebergs all jagged and spiked, that rise from the sea in this cold world of ice. This here is Antarctica. The end. There's lots to see. So just like we saw in our story, there are lots of animals to see down in Antarctica if you ever happen to get there. Even though it's cold and there's lots of water and ice and snow there, there's still a lot of animals to see. Now we've got some questions that you guys have been writing down that we're going to answer in just a minute while we talk about our activity that we've got for today. So today, do you remember those 3 words that we talked about different things that animals like to eat, like meat and plants, and meat and plants? Carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. Well, today our special activity is actually not a craft. We're going to be doing a special matching activity. So on our website and on Facebook, we have got some pictures of some animals' teeth. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the teeth of all these different animals, and we're going to see if we can not only guess what type of food that animal might eat, but also which animal those teeth belong to. So there's pictures of teeth, and there's pictures of these animals for us to match them with, and at the very end, there's an answer key for us to check our answers after we think we've got all the matches right. Now let's answer some questions quick before we let you go to have a chance to do our fun matching activity today. So let's see here. Ollie would like to know if they have predators. Yes, they do have predators. So just like we saw in our story, orcas or killer whales that live down near Antarctica, they will sometimes hunt the crab-eater seals. And sometimes even smaller, or when they're smaller, the bigger seals, like the leopard seals who live there, which are much bigger than the crab-eater seals, will sometimes eat the crab-eater seals too. So they do have some predators. Not many predators, but they do have some predators who live around there. And Elle would like to know if they are very fast. So they're good at swimming. They're much faster in the water than they are on land. But even when they're on land, even when they walk on their flippers and they just kind of walk by wiggling the back of their body and their tails, on land, a crab-eater seal can still run and move about 12 miles an hour, which is pretty fast for an animal that doesn't have legs for running on. But when they're in the water, they can swim much faster. And like we said, they can swim up to 40 or 50 miles every day in search of looking for food. So even if they're in the water, if they're not swimming really fast, like they might get bursts of speed to escape from a predator, they can still swim for a really long time. Now that's what we call endurance. They can swim for a long time. And Ollie would also like to know why those penguins are called macaroni penguins. That is a very good question, Ollie. And you know what? I don't have an answer for that right now, but I will look up an answer and see if I can figure out why macaroni penguins are called that. What do you think? Do you think it's because they look like they've eaten a lot of macaroni and cheese? I think it might have something to do with those bright yellow feathers on top of its head. And that's always a good thing to do if we have a question that we want to know the answer to and we don't know. Sometimes even people like Mr. Nick don't know the answer to some questions. It's always a good idea to ask or to look up the answers for ourselves and see if we can find an answer in a book or online. So we can always be learning more about animals. Maybe we'll learn about it and then we'll have to talk about penguins at an upcoming Munchkins. So thank you guys so much for those questions. And we've got our activity on Facebook and on our website. But before I let you go too, I wanted to let everybody know, let all of our parents and grandparents and all of our adults who are watching know that we still have some of our special activity boxes for sale on our website, which if you have a kid who's really interested in animals or dinosaurs or scientific experiments or art, we've got these 4 boxes on all 4 of those topics available on our website that will be for pre-order right now and for pickup this Friday. So like this is just our animal box here that I've got. So there's activity sheets for all the different experiments and activities that we've got inside our boxes. And then like in our animal box, you can make a bug house. We're dissecting owl pellets. We're learning about how animals stay warm in really cold water, like the Crabeater Seals. We're learning why some animals' eyes glow in the dark. And we're even learning how scientists sort animals into different groups. We call that taxonomy. So if you're interested in one of our boxes too, our Summer Camp in a Box program, you can also sign up for those right now on our website. There's still some available if you're interested in that. Thank you guys so much for joining me today to learn all about Crabeater seals, and I hope that we see you next week when we talk all about possums. All right, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.